those shots? I like those shots. And this week I'm going to teach you how to do the same exact thing. So I'm not exactly sure what the official term for this type of photography is. I've heard low-key lighting, I've heard blackout photography. I call it fucking awesome. Whatever the term is, it's something that I have come to love, especially when shooting product reviews or creating thumbnails. Now, as far as workflow is concerned, everything is pretty much the same, whether you're shooting photo or video. The only thing that changes is whether you're shooting photos or video. The lighting is the same and the editing techniques are pretty much the same as well. Now, there are a few things to either have or keep in mind when shooting like this. One is some sort of black background. Now, whether it is a black bed sheet or a black backdrop, you're gonna need something that is black or dark. That way that your background is fully blacked out. I happen to use a black bed sheet. Yeah, a black bed sheet. No one fucking knows. Well, I guess now they do. Number two, something to hang that backdrop up with. Now, whether you're putting it on a wall, you'll need some thumbtacks, or you're clamping it to some shelves. That's what I did at first before I got a backdrop stand. You're gonna need something to hang up that black background. Number three is a controlled lighting environment. You're gonna want the room that you're shooting this in to be as dark as possible, minus your production lights or whatever lights you're using to light your subject. Number four, you guessed it, you're gonna need some sort of production light or some sort of light to light what you want to highlight in the video or the thumbnail. You're gonna wanna use some sort of LED or RGB light, depending on your creative taste. If you don't happen to have an RGB light, make sure that you have the coolest temperature light that you possibly can. I happen to shoot most of these videos between a 5,000 Kelvin and 6,500 Kelvin. And just stay away from tungsten. Nothing looks good in tungsten. You might, if that's your choice. Number five is some sort of surface. Now, I happen to be lucky enough to have a very high glossed wooden table here. Yes, this is wood. It looks black, but it's actually wood. It's been dipped in, I don't know, but it's amazing because this shiny glossy surface provides me with a lot of really cool reflections of whatever I'm shooting. If you don't happen to have a glossy surface, just get a matte black table or some sort of black tabletop. If you don't have a black tabletop, what can you use? Black bed sheet. And number six, you want to shoot on the fastest aperture or the fastest lens that you have at your disposal. I happen to be using in most of these product videos the nifty 50mm 1.8 from Canon. It's just a great lens for these types of shots, and it's also very, very, very good in low light, and it's also going to give you some very nice out of focus elements depending on what part of the product that you happen to be highlighting. So let's just go ahead and jump in. Step one is going to be what subject you want to shoot. Now, I've already shot pretty much everything I've done a review on, so I'm just going to pick something off the shelf here and just, you know, that's what we're going to shoot. I've got a few cameras, so this one will be cool, the old Polaroid 350. The next step is that now I need to get my black background. So I'm going to grab my black bed sheet and I'm going to put it over the backdrop stand that I have here. Now, before I had the backdrop stand, I was just clamping it onto the arms of this shelf here and just making sure that there were no wrinkles in it whatsoever. And I still use clamps on the side of the backdrop stand here just to kind of tighten that. And that's another tip for you. You want to make sure that there's not any wrinkles in it whatsoever when you do shoot. So here's the black bed sheet, and when I'm putting it on my backdrop stand, what I did was I got the top part of the sheet, the part that has the fold over on it, and I just cut a hole right here in it so that the pole can slide in and it'll just hang from the pole itself. This is just weird, but okay. I got the backdrop up, and the next thing, since I'm using a shiny surface, is I need to make sure that this surface is clean. So you just clean it off. I use a glass cleaner for this particular finish. No one wants a dirty table. And surprisingly, you pick up on it, whether you think you will or not. You'll get little dust particles, things like that. So sometimes using a black bed sheet is a little bit better, especially if you don't want any distractions or anything that might be yucking up the table. All right, looks good. Now let's place our subject. We're gonna place the subject here. I usually like to do an angle unless for some reason I'm going straight forward. And sometimes throughout the shoot, I will change the angle. I will make it straight forward or whatever, but I find that light really plays well when the product is at an angle. The lights I happen to use a lot are these awesome Apurtur MC lights. I'm sure you guys have heard about them by now, but they're really cool. They are RGB lights, and they do have adjustable color temperature when you're talking about whether going to tungsten or you're going to a higher Kelvin. Now this is where creative decisions come in on your end. You can choose to go with colors, or you can choose just to go with a white light. I change it up depending on the product that I'm shooting. For this guy, and this is sometimes something you have to take into consideration, is the product that you're shooting. Does it make sense to give it a really cool high-tech look with different colored lights, or do you want to just keep it simple? Since this is an older vintage camera, I'm probably going to keep it simple. It doesn't really make sense to give it that really sci-fi or that, you know, that really cool look that sometimes RGB lights can have. Let's just go ahead and turn these lights off and we'll get to lighting the subject. All right, so already you can see that it's lighting the subject pretty good. I might adjust these lights. I might have them come a little bit more front facing. It'd be really cool maybe to add sort of a backlight here. For now, I think this is really gonna work for our first shots. If you can use autofocus, definitely use autofocus on the camera you're using. And also, if you are going handheld, do 120 frames a second if you can. If not, do 60 frames a second. That way you're able to slow down those shots and really just keep them nice and smooth in post. Let's do it. And here we are in Lightroom. Now, like I said earlier, the editing techniques are gonna be basically the same if you are doing video or photos. We're just gonna bring down the shadows, bring down the blacks a little bit, and then you should be good to go. A lot of this stuff has been done in camera, which is really nice. It sort of just brings down that workflow work that you have to do in post. So as you can see here, I've got probably what I'm gonna use for the thumbnail, maybe, maybe not, but it's one of the photos that I like a lot and I'll probably post somewhere. So already it looks really good straight right here, but what I like to do is, especially with these shots, is bring down the blacks just a touch. And if you press Option when you're doing this, you can see how much you're bringing down. And there we go. Bring it up. We want to minimize pretty much any other color or anything else in this frame besides the subject. So there we go. That's good. Shadows, play with the shadows a little bit. Kind of like the shadows down. Again, let's minimize some of that. Go even darker with those shadows. Highlights, we can play around. This is gonna highlight just our subject and what's on that. So that's nice and meaty right there. Oh, so it didn't really do much. And then texture, we'll bring texture up just a little bit. Not gonna mess with clarity. White balance is great because I use the 6500 Kelvin lights, so I'm not really gonna mess with white balance at all. Let's bring this down just a little bit. Sharpening again, when you're messing with the mask, press Option and it's going to show you exactly what will be sharpened. So I only want those components sharpened. There we go. Now you can do this if you want. You can add a vignette. Sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it'll help with any, maybe you've got something going on in the background that this will just be an easy fix for. You're not going to see it because everything's black. Enabling profile corrections is, if you're shooting raw, all of the lens information is going to go into Lightroom, and if there's any warping or anything like that, this is going to get rid of that, and sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. This one, I think I'll probably use it. So yeah, that's looking really good to me right now. The only thing I might do is an angle adjustment. And yeah, that looks good to me. So like I said, the editing techniques are going to be basically the same whether you're doing photo or video. You're just going to want to kind of bring down those shadows, bring down the blacks a little bit, and you know, that's about it. Here's a look at the before and the after of the shot. Not much difference, but there is somewhat of a difference, and yeah, very, very happy with it. And that's it for me. I hope you guys got something out of this. It's a really cool technique that I like to use and I use often, and I get a lot of questions about, so you know, I just wanted to give you guys sort of some tips on how to do it. So I'll see you on the next one.